Today, me and my 3 other friends are going to be surviving 100 days in Minecraft Hardcore, exploring the brand new 1.21 update and doing so much more. Anyways, let's get into it. Our journey begins in a fairly barren plains biome. Obviously, our first objective was to chop down a tree to gather some wood for a wooden pickaxe, so we could then begin collecting some stone to upgrade our tools, gathering all the stone tools. By the time that I had all my tools, the others were still collecting their materials. So whilst I waited, I collected some coal, and once everyone had gathered all the materials they needed...
Come look at this.
Nah, bro.
Disgusting.
It was a weird one.
We could now go out on a journey, exploring, and not too long later, we stumbled across a village. I cooked up some food, and the sun also started to set, so for the rest of the day, we went around looting the village. But soon, it was time to sleep. And now, on day 2, Tendy tried to defeat the iron golem to get some iron. You got this, dude.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Bro, I thought it was 2.
That went well. So, Nick, Ash, and I had to come to Tendy's rescue.
Hooray.
We collected some hay bales for food.
Oh wait, where's my food?
I get it, because he's a chicken.
And then we continued running around, finding another 2 lava pools. And off in the distance, we found another village that we could loot. Tendy gave defeating the iron golem another attempt, which he actually did properly this time. So let's do a little trolling.
I was like, they can break blocks?
For a good portion of this day, we just messed around for a little bit.
I see something there.
So, whilst Ash went over to get some fish to get her first pet of this world, I hid the cat. And this worked too well. Where'd your cat go?
I don't know. I gotta look for it. Where is it?
Yeah, look up.
Where?
It's like almost as if everyone's looking at it.
Boards.
Oh.
Well, putting that aside, we just ran around for the rest of the day, and eventually the sun started to set. So we all went to sleep. Day 3, we were going to be doing a whole lot of running, as currently we had one objective, and that was to find a location where we could set up and build our first house. We were running around for quite a while already when we discovered a massive cave, and I actually decided to get someone down into it. Sorry, Tendy. Yep. Anyways, I then got instant karma as I almost died falling down into another cave myself. Off in the distance, we found a ruined portal, and now we were racing towards it to see who could get to it first, which was me. Obviously. I looted the chest, and then we all just continued running around, eventually finding another pretty big ruined portal by the night time. We also lost Nick along the way. Whoops. And day 4 also consisted of some running and some boating as well, which wasn't too bad because along our way, we actually came across a ship in the middle of the ocean where I found my first diamond of this world. But putting that aside, we now had one more day of running. Eventually, on day 5, we found a jungle biome where we could take materials such as melons and bamboo and whatever the heck else you could find in a jungle. Maybe some cocoa beans. And it was actually quite convenient because when we went to leave this jungle biome to continue exploring around, we actually found another village off in the distance again. We all went over to it, and it was actually here where we would decide it was a cool enough area to set up our first base. And well, on day 6, there was a, not so friendly surprise waiting for us. No, not the well. Anyways, we ran around this area for a little while looking for the perfect location to set up our first house. And obviously, Ash got distracted once again. Who can guess what for? If you guessed getting another pet cat, you would be correct. Off in the distance, we found another village, and next to that was also a pillager outpost. This would be pretty useful for when we would either need the bad omen effect for trial chambers, or even totems of undying that we would get by starting raids. But putting those aside, for the rest of the day, we chopped down loads of trees to start clearing out an area for our first house. And on day 7, we continued to chop down trees. I also used a flint and steel to remove the big trees. This was going to save us all a whole lot of time. And not too long later, we were pretty satisfied with the amount of land that we had cleared out. We would now be able to build up a house in this area. Though, before we do that, we needed to collect materials. And one of the main materials materials we needed for this house build was spruce wood. So we would have to go out exploring looking for a spruce forest, which, believe it or not, was going to take a very long time. And whilst we were running, we ran past the pillager outpost that we saw earlier. We defeated a few pillagers and then went inside looting the chest. Inside the chest, I got a goat's horn. Again, though, we just continued running for the rest of day 7, as well as day 8, which unfortunately it was raining today. Does anyone actually like this Minecraft rain? During this day, I also found another pillager outpost, which when looting this place, I also got another goat's horn. And we also found another village during this exploration time. This one was an acacia village where we could take a couple things from. Now, although this wasn't exactly what we were looking for, we did actually find the cherry grove biome.
Right.
Which I proceeded to chop down a tree so we could bring some saplings home. But apart from that, we went out exploring even further, still running around for that spruce wood. This better be worth the effort. But finally, on day 10, we had found a spruce wood biome.
While you guys get spruce wood, I think I'm gonna go back and flatten out the land.
So whilst Nick, Tendy, and myself chopped down some spruce trees, Ash ended up going back home in order to start flattening out the land so we could start building a house up very soon. After collecting loads of wood, I had a boxing match against Nick. They should have put this on Netflix instead of that Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight, I reckon. And a pillager with a banner showed up.
Get him.
Get him.
So now equipped with all the spruce wood and saplings that we would need for a while, we could finally start returning back home. After running around for a while, we ended up catching up with Ash at a village that was near our house. Yep, she got distracted with cats and stuff again, no surprise. Anyways, we now went back home. I crafted up an iron axe to chop down some more trees, and on day 12, we completely destroyed the environment even more. We were doing this right before we would build up the main house because we wanted to get some farms started. And day 13 was actually spent making up those farms, starting with the cocoa bean farm, and then we moved on to a sugarcane farm, which after building this up, we also got a little bit distracted. We went to a nearby lava pool to make up another portal, though this wasn't completely necessary right now since we were nowhere near ready enough to actually go into the nether quite yet. But finally, on day 14, we planted every single other crop that we had been saving up, fully completing this farming session. That took surprisingly longer than I thought it would have. However, now that is done, we can go ahead and start mining up some iron and other materials. We were going to be doing this so we could get some better armor and tools compared to what we currently have. Get down there. Iron. We continued searching through the caves, and on the first day of being down here, we fought off zombies that was defending a vein of diamonds. We then mined said diamonds, which was actually a pretty big vein. We then continued exploring around, fighting off billions of mobs, whilst the others found even more diamonds. We continued going around the caves, mined up loads more iron and other materials, and on day 17, whilst the others would continue going around collecting more materials for themselves, I just went ahead and started smelting up my iron to craft up full iron armor as well as some tools as well. Tendy eventually found even more diamonds himself, as well as a mob spawner, which was cool. However, we didn't actually come here for the diamonds. We simply just wanted iron. We would get the diamonds later. So for the next 2 days, we collected even more iron. Enough iron for full iron armor and tools for everyone, as well as some extra iron if we ever needed that in the future.
It's not this way, guys. This is a dead end.
Okay, dude.
Is that going in? Is that going in the video?
No. Apart from that, we then went back up to the surface, returning back home. Back home, it was now time to use some of the materials that we had just collected. We picked up some obsidian from the lava pool near our base area, and then we crafted up an enchant table so we could enchant all the items that we had just crafted up. This was kind of a waste of XP though, since we were only enchanting iron items, but oh well. We also started chopping down some spruce trees in preparations for what we were about to do. And now it's about that time where we spend way more time than we needed into building up our very first house. Yes, so whilst building up a house and mixing in a bit of procrastination, for the next 13 days, we got to work beginning to build up our very first house. Also, if at any point during this building process, you don't see all of us building at the exact same time, that is because the other person who wasn't there at the time would have been out collecting materials. A couple of my friends said they weren't good at building. So they opted out of that and decided to go to collect materials for the house build whilst the rest of us would be building. So I guess because they weren't good at building, they decided the more boring process. But oh well, that's fine by me. On top of all that, we didn't want to build up a house that was too crazy, because if any of you have watched the 100 Days in Bedrock Trios edition, you would know that the house was massive and probably quite over the top for what we actually needed. And well, we didn't want to do that again. So using a mix between oak, spruce, stone, and terracotta, or whatever the heck that block is, we started building up a fairly decent sized house. As for the storage and other things like enchant tables, we were going to build up another structure for those later on in the world, so we didn't really have to worry too much about the size of this house right now. Anyways, after all that, this is how the house turned out. I don't think it looked too bad. Now, following that massive building session, we now wanted to get some animal farms. We would bring over animals like sheep, more sheep, chicken, and I'm glad we could catch all the chickens, though one of them seemed quite a lot bigger than the others. Must have been hitting the gym or something. And we also brought over some cows. However, since we ran out of time, we would have to bring the pigs over on day 35. And we also had to fill in a creeper hole. Also, I think we have a lot of cats in this house too. Comment down below. What should we name all the cats?
Skibidi Toilet, Kaisenat.
No, Nick. We're not naming the cats Skibidi Toilet and Kaisenat. Here in Parkour Civilization, we randomly challenge people. No, oh my gosh, that is such an outdated joke. Nice house, Tendy. All right, enough brain rot. It's time that we go out and collect some diamonds. We needed to upgrade our armor and tools. I'm not even gonna try and make this entertaining. It's mining. You really can't do a whole lot with that. Yeah, we kind of just mined up diamonds. Yep, we just went around loads of caves mining up all the diamonds that we could find in hopes to get enough diamonds for full diamond armor, diamond tools, and a little extra for when we would maybe need to craft new tools and armor or repairing those, if you get what I'm trying to say. We also ended up going strip mining for some time as well to test the difference between cave mining and strip mining. And let me tell you, we got quite a bit more diamonds from this strip mining session as well. I think we all ended up getting like 40 diamonds each or something. It was pretty crazy. So now we're really rich, I guess. All right, mining session over. We're now back home. Well, putting that all aside, now for the rest of the day, we were going to be using all the diamonds that we had just mined up, crafting up full diamond armor, all the diamond tools, including the hoe, and then we enchanted everything using the enchant table. Now everyone had full diamond armor and tools. Today, we were going to be doing a bit of farming, collecting all the crops that had grown in our fairly decent sized farm area. We also crafted up a jukebox so we could listen to the cat disc and watch Ash's pet parrot dance to the music disc. Another group of pillagers also showed up at our house, and I was also given some golden apples by Ash. I also accidentally fell in lava. Don't ask how I did this because I literally could not tell you. Well, that almost ended this world. But putting that aside, now it's time for the nether. This shower seemed pretty hot. But after running around for a little while, we came across the nether fortress. When we got inside the fortress, to save some time, I said I would collect all the blaze rods we would need, whilst the others could go around and defeat wither skeletons so they could get their hands on some wither skulls. Because we were going to do a similar strat to our 100 Days Bedrock Trios video, where we would collect both the blaze rods that we would need, as well as all the wither skeleton skulls that we would need for the wither as well. And not too long in, Tendy got his first wither skeleton skull.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Oh my, wait, I just got a wither skull.
And on day 44, Nick got the second skull.
Oh my god, I just got the second one.
So now all we needed was one more wither skeleton skull. And by this time, I had already collected 15 blaze rods. So I had more than enough, and I could join the Wither Skeleton Defeating Club and help out in getting the third, which actually I got really fast. Oh, I actually got one. What? We had crazy luck in this nether fortress. And on top of that, whilst we were about to leave this fortress, we ended up getting a fourth skull too. A fourth?
We don't need it, but I did get another one.
This one was obtained by Ash. That actually means that all four of us ended up getting a skull. That's pretty insane. Anyways, now we could leave the nether fortress, and instantly we had a battle against Ghast, but that wasn't too hard to win, ultimately getting the return to sender advancements. Now, we had to run around looking for another thing, and that was the warped forest biome, which we did eventually come across. However, there was a massive lava pool separating us from it. So we all collected collected loads of blocks and then started bridging over towards it. And now we had to collect loads of ender pearls. For a good portion of this time, we actually traded with piglins, getting ender pearls on our first trade with them. However, for the rest of this trading session, we got extremely unlucky. So instead, we all had to go around this massive warped forest biome, fighting off endermen to get the rest of the pearls that we would need. And now that we had all the pearls, we could go home. Now, you may notice Nick wasn't with us, and there is a reason for this, which you're going to find out about very soon. Back home though, I crafted up some more food since I had run out of food during this nether session, and then we went to sleep. Alright, so you know how I said you'd find out what Nick was doing very soon? Well, this was it. Now, it's actually time to start preparing for the end fight. I started by crafting up a bow, using some sticks and string, and then I enchanted that. Now, whilst the others did their own things for a little while, I went around chopping trees for wood. I then would give a villager the fletching profession, so I could trade sticks for emeralds, and then trade those emeralds for arrows. We would need a lot of arrows for the dragon fight very soon. Also, on top of that, do you remember how I said the others were doing their own thing? Well, yeah, they were making things like pathways. On top of the pathways, I also thought it would be a nice addition to the area if we built up a small little pond area. So that's what we did as well for the rest of the day. Despite all the dragon preparations, we still wanted to make our house area look even nicer. We added some cobblestone walls around the pathways for more details, and whilst the others continued doing things like that, I went ahead and collected some obsidian, and then started terraforming a bit of land, followed by building up another nether portal, as well as a pathway, and boom! Now we had an even cooler nether portal area. I'm so glad we could move this from the random lava pool that we had our other nether portal at. And well, on day 51, it was just spent throwing eyes of ender, running around, throwing more eyes, and even more running. You get the point. Eventually, the pearl went down, so we dug straight into the stronghold. And inside the stronghold, we started by mining up loads of bookshelves. You already know exactly what we were doing this for, so I don't really need to explain that. And well, now that we had all the bookshelves, we could go ahead and start looking for the next thing. And that was obviously the end portal room, which actually turned out to be a whole lot more complicated than we would have liked. The entrance to the portal room was actually blocked off, and at the time, we didn't know this, so we just continued running around. Eventually, finding it on day 53 after running around for such a long time, and the only reason we found this is because we heard the silverfish through a wall. I cannot believe that happened. Well, this is it. We chucked all the pearls into the portal, and now it was time for the dragon fight. Any wrong move from either of us, and this challenge would be over. Obviously, we had to destroy all the crystals first, which actually didn't take too long, considering we had 4 people to shoot at the crystals. And once all the crystals were down, we all started shooting at the dragon, destroying loads of its health. Eventually, though, it perched down, so we hit the dragon with our swords. Finally, finishing the dragon off by hitting it with a couple more bow shots. We had done it. We defeated the dragon in SQUADS Minecraft Hardcore. So now we could collect the dragon egg, and now we could even move on to going to the outer end islands. The end gateway spawned us on top of a massive chorus fruit plant thingo, but that was kind of cool, though everyone did fall off.
Oh my god.
But putting that aside, luckily for us, there was an end city right next to the gateway, so we made our way over towards it, bridging over the void and even using pearls to get over to the other island. We defeated the other shulkers defending the entrance to the end city, and then we made our way up inside the end city. I didn't really care for the other loot, so whilst the others looted the end city, I went straight for the ship. Going inside the ship, defeating the shulker that was defending the elytra, I then looted both the chests and finally got my hands on the first elytra of this world. And then for the next few days, we all ran around attempting to get everyone an elytra. This did take longer than it usually would for us, since now instead of 3 people, we had an extra person that we had to get an elytra for, meaning an extra end city with a ship, which was already somewhat rare as it is. But now that everyone had an elytra, we could all return back home. Now back at home, we were about to do a little bit more building, but this time it was for an enchant table room as well as the storage room. However, before we start to do that, for day 58, we mainly spent this day doing a little bit of farming. Going through the farms is taking quite a while now, especially with the amount of cocoa beans we have. Well, now we could actually start building up both the structures. Now we had a little bit of flat land. Ash was going to be in charge of building up the enchant table room, whilst the rest of us would do a storage room. Now, we could have built an actual house or structure up. However, we ended up deciding to make a storage room into a hill by digging out a decent sized hallway, which we could then add chests and decorations inside this room. And now with all those chests, we moved everything inside the new storage room, moving everything from all our messy chests into this room. Although that was going to take a decent amount of time to completely move everything, it was fine though, because it gave Ash a little more time to complete the enchant room. Yeah, alright, cool. We now had all those rooms sorted out, but there was no time to rest, because now we were going to be going around and collecting loads of materials for our first automatic farm build of this world. Yeah, we had quite a lot of these planned out for the next little while, but for now, for the next couple of days, we just collected a bunch of random materials like stone, wood, and even quartz. Because for the next 6 days, we were actually going to be working on an automatic mob farm that would produce us over 10,000 items per hour. However, we were mainly building this up for the gunpowder that the creepers would drop. Yeah, since we now had elytras, we obviously had to get gunpowder for fireworks. I think I may have built this farm in almost every 100 days video on my channel, and there is a good reason for that. It's a really good farm. So I guess since I've built this so many times, there really isn't any point in me explaining how it's built. Just know that we got the farm tutorial from Shulkercraft. Thanks, guys. And not too long later, the farm had been fully built up, and we were now able to AFK for gunpowder. However, we weren't going to be going AFK anytime soon, because now we had another farm to build. So once again, for the next couple of days, we were going to be going around collecting more materials for this farm build. So after running back to the stronghold and going through the end portal, we were now back in the end dimension, ready to build up another farm. And this farm, I also seem to build up a lot. We placed down a lava source on the side of the island so it could go down to the void. And whilst we waited for that, we still needed some ender pearls to spawn the endermite. So we went around defeating a couple of endermen. That went really smoothly. But now we could bridge out over 128 blocks and then begin building up the actual farm itself. Again, I've built this farm up many times in previous videos, so I don't really need to go into depth on how to build this farm up, but once again, it's from Shulkercraft. Pretty much all we had to do was build up a massive chute thing and then build a big spawning platform as well. And on top of that, we also had to trap an endermite into a minecart above the drop area to attract endermen into jumping down. Boom, farm complete. It's actually pretty simple. And now that we actually could use this farm, it was time to get some really good enchants using an enchant table, anvils, grindstones. You get the point. This farm was so efficient, it really didn't take us that long to get maxed out enchanted armor. I'm glad we built this up because now we could get so much XP. But once the armor was complete, we could all return back home. And we were going to be building something else as well. We were going to be building up a pretty big sugarcane farm to go along with that mob farm that we built up earlier. Because obviously, if we were going to be crafting up fireworks, we would also need sugarcane for paper to accompany the gunpowder that we would get from that mob farm. So today we were building up a big sugarcane farm. Also, it was around this time that the server crashed and messed up with some of the settings, putting the server back on easy mode. And well, we didn't realize this at the time, so I guess technically the rest of this video is cheated since it wasn't on hard mode. Should we try this challenge again? Let us know. Well, today we were now going to be risking our world once again. Nah, who am I kidding? But we're too good to die. However, before we do anything else, I used an anvil to repair my diamond armor. And then we flew over to another village that was somewhat close to our house. Because today we were going to spawn the Wither in and attempt to defeat it. Usually we would dig a tunnel underground for the Wither. However, today we were going to be spawning the Wither on top of the surface and fighting it that way. This was it. I placed all three of the Wither skeleton skulls and now we had to fight the Wither. Instantly, it started started
Get him.
attacking me, so I had to run around whilst the others would shoot at it. I didn't want to risk dying. And well, at the time, we didn't actually realize this, but since the server was now on easy mode, the wither fight was way easier than usual because we didn't get the wither effect. Again, if you guys would like to see us reattempt this challenge, but in hard mode for the entire 100 days, then let us know in the comments down below. And now that we had defeated the wither, from days 83 to 88, we were now going to go back to building up another automatic farm. I'm not exactly too sure why this one took so long to build since it was a relatively small iron farm, but either way, this iron farm would be useful to build up since it would hopefully help us out in getting the max beacon way easier. Though, since it still was a pretty small farm, I don't think we'll get enough iron from this farm before the end of the 100 days. Also, whilst we were building up this farm, Ash made something really cool. She turned my YouTube logo into a Minecraft banner.
It took a lot of thinking, but...
Wait, that is actually... But now, it was time for the next part of this world, and that was actually to go ahead and loot some trial chambers in hopes to get at least one mace. But what was about to happen next was actually insane. However, before we get to that, we actually had to find the trial chambers. And for that, again, we used the seed map tool website to locate the trial chambers, as this was going to save us loads of time. Instead of having to get villager trades, we would be able to go straight to the trial chambers and spend way more time actually doing productive things. And apparently, there was a trial chamber right next to our house. That was very convenient. Now inside, we drank the bad omen bottle effect, and then we started fighting off loads of mobs. The trial chamber has been in Minecraft for over 6 months now, so I'm sure you've seen these loads of times already. So let's just jump straight into looting all the vaults. This gets pretty crazy. Using our first ominous key thing, Tendy got the first heavy core of this world. Wait, he actually got it.
No way.
We then looted another vault, which unfortunately we didn't get anything else from though. So we fought off mobs and then unsuccessfully looted another 2 vaults until we looted another one where I got my hands on the second heavy core, followed by me getting another.
Oh my god.
Way. You're kidding.
That's 3 of the 4 that we got.
Now, at this point, we had collected 4. I collected 3 of them. However, I have no clue where the clip of me getting the other one went. But pretty much to sum this entire thing up, we now had 4 maces. Way more than we originally went into this trial chamber expecting to obtain. And well, on day 100, we returned back home, but we're still not done yet. We wanted to enchant our mace to test it out, but I didn't have enough XP for the level 30 enchant, so I quickly went over to a pillager outpost to defeat a few pillagers for XP, and then enchanted the mace. And for the rest of the day, we were messing around with our new crazy weapon. It's now day 101, and we're kind of going a little longer than we probably should in this world, but we also wanted to listen to the new music disc, so that's what we did for this day. And well, that was 100 days in Minecraft Hardcore, Squads Edition. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing. Face reveal is at 500,000 subscribers.
What about the destination? But the friends you made along the way.
I'm filling these pots with all my loot.
What?
Cat was shot by Epic Nico.
Oh!
It's so on. Get here. Get here.
Goodbye.